I'd like to welcome you all to the 2014 Women's College World Series. This is the first of today's press conferences with the head coaches. To introduce to you, to my right, the head coach of Louisiana Lafayette, Michael Latif. From the University of Kentucky, Rachel Lawson. From Alabama, Patrick Murphy. And from Oklahoma, Patty Gasso. Just a few things before we begin. Please raise your hand and wait for the microphone to get to you. When you get the microphone, please state your name and affiliation for the coaches. Thank you. And then we'll start with opening statements from my right to go down the line.
Ladies first.
See how we pawned that one off. First, I just want to thank you guys for all being here, and I want to congratulate all the 8 participants for being here. This is a special event. For Kentucky specifically, it's a big milestone for us because it's the first time we've been able to be on this great field and in this great venue. So we're very excited about that part of it, and I feel a sense of accomplishment for our school and for our university. They put a lot of time and a lot of resources and a lot of effort into women's athletics and softball in general. So I feel good that our student athletes could show that off at this great venue.
Oh, we're skipping.
See how they pawn that off?
There's so many people to thank in advance for all of the hard work they put in, from Oklahoma All Sports Association, University of Oklahoma, all the workers here at the Hall of Fame. They really, really have a passion and a love for this sport, and you can see that by the work that they put in. And with work and passion brings a fan, so I'm really excited about the increased attendance that's been here. I want to congratulate, again, as Rachel said, all of the participants. It's interesting because there's some old flavor and some new flavor, and it's kind of exciting to see the diversity amongst throughout the country, all of the teams that are in. I'm very proud of this Oklahoma team this season. We've been through quite a bit, and we started slow and finished fast, and just extremely proud of their efforts. And the hard part, to me, is over, and the fun part begins. The hardest part is getting through a regional and super regional with so much at stake. And then once you're here, to me, it's like, let's go. And I think my team feels that way as well. So we're very excited to be back. It's an absolute honor and privilege, and just excited to get started and have a great time doing it.
Go ahead, Mike. All right. Since we've been here last in '08, this place has really transformed. The additions to the stadium and really how this venue and the sport has grown has really been phenomenal. And I think that just kind of tracks what's going on with softball across the country. I'm so proud that we get to showcase our sport in such a special venue. I think we've come such a long way in terms of equity for female athletes and opportunities for female athletes. We still got a ways to go, but it keeps getting better and better and better and better. Again, I'm so proud of my team. We've been a work in progress really all year. These kids have worked incredibly hard on the field, and they've done such a good job off of the field. In the classroom, we have our highest GPA that we've ever had. And they're fun kids to be around. And the older that you get and the longer that you're around, this generation, they renew you. And they renew you because you understand that they're willing to dream and then go out and chase those dreams. And it's just a great time for our sport, I think. It's a great time for really the opportunities that these kids have in order to showcase their abilities and their talents. Again, I know everybody up here at this table and respect them immensely, not only what they've done in terms of winning and success, but really how they do it, and do it with such class, and do it for the love of the sport, and always do it because we're trying to take more steps and leave it better than we got it. So I'm gonna have fun. You know, it's such a tough journey to get here, like we talked about before, and I agree. I think now that there's so much parity amongst this field, and I think a lot of these games are going to be decided by a pitch, by a call, by a play, and it's going to be fun to see what happens over the next week, and we're excited to be a part of it.
Well, all of us at Alabama want to say thanks to the Oklahoma City All Sports Association, the University of Oklahoma, the City of Oklahoma City, and ASA USA softball, because this never, ever gets old for us. It's the 9th trip for Alabama. I can remember the first one when there was about 5 of you out there. The gentleman last night at the reception said, this is the most hospitable city in the country, and right before we had gotten to that incredible building for the reception, in the parking deck, I had a huge 15-passenger van, and I had no idea where we were going to park it. And we got out, and the gentleman said, just come in here. We won't tell anybody. You can, we won't charge you. You know, you're here for the World Series. It's no big deal. And it happened. And the people of Oklahoma City are awesome, and we can't wait to get to start playing.
Open up for questions.
Yeah, for Patrick and Patty, can you both talk about how similar the other team is to what you saw when you played in the final a couple of years ago, and how different the other team is that you're facing this time?
Well, she's got a different pitcher. That's the biggest. She's still got a heck of a good offense, great defense. Her coaching staff is intact. I mean, they're always going to win. They're going to have the crowd again. And, you know, we're a little bit different, but the biggest difference, I think, is Miss Ricketts is gone, and they have Kelsey Stevens.
I would say the one thing I know about Alabama is that they play to win, and it might be a slightly different cast of characters, but in the end, they know how to win, and that's through Patrick Murphy, and his staff and their tradition of softball. So we know when you look at us and our numbers, they look pretty similar, but when you put us on the field, it's 2 teams that have won a national championship, that understand what's at stake in the first game, and 2 teams that are going to get after it. So I'd say that they might look different, but they know how to do it. They know how to do it when they get here.
Now, this is for all of you who have been here before, so I guess everyone with Coach Lawson. You know, for so many years, you know, this was kind of the Pac-12 Invitational. You know, you have Washington and Arizona, Arizona State, et cetera. It kind of changed in 2000, I think, when Oklahoma won the title. But for those of you, I mean, it seems like the balance of power has shifted a little bit. You only have one Pac-12 team in here this year. Now they are the top seed, but there's only one Pac-12 team. Can you talk a little bit about just how that power has kind of shifted maybe towards the east a little bit, and, you know, just how softball has grown the last 10, 15 years?
Well, I think the greatest example is these 2 right here. Rachel has her starting pitcher from Soddy Daisy, Tennessee, and Michael has his starting pitcher from Leesville, Louisiana. How did that happen? You know, it's amazing. It's a credit to their coaching, but the kids are growing up now anywhere in the country. Patty's is from New Mexico. You know, so there's softball all over the country. They sit at home when they're little girls and watch the same event on ESPN every year. And all the kids that watch dream of coming here. And I think that's why the parity is spread.
I would say also all the kids back in the day would watch and see UCLA and Arizona, but not everybody could go there. So some of these pretty good athletes would start to venture out, and you could see, to me, when we would get one of those, back in my day it was a lefty pitcher named Lana Moran out of California who took the step to come to Oklahoma, and then it started to spread and it started to reach out. But I also believe that administrators stepping up for programs throughout the country and building some phenomenal facilities and really putting their money where their mouth is and saying, hey, we support you. And kids will come to those places. They want to play in tough conferences. They want to play with great facilities. They want to play, I think, for coaches that know how to win, a lot of them. So now you're seeing just a dispersed all over the country, but ready to go leave the West Coast if needed, or wanting to. And a great example for me is the Lauren Chamberlains, Ricketts, the Schultz, Gascoigne, Shelby Penley, New Mexico. As Patrick said, they're just really coming from all over, and they just see the vision of the World Series, but they also see, some of them, a vision of leaving home and starting a life and becoming kind of their own free adult.
I don't think it's any disrespect to the Pac-12. I mean, you still realize what quality of softball is being played in that conference. So I think it's more the focus on what's going on around the rest of the country. And I think because of the exposure, first of all, the exposure that the sport gets has allowed the sport to grow across the country. And then you watch as coaches take over programs that may not have the tradition, and they go in there and they build it day by day by day by day by day. And you see the same opportunities that are being afforded to female athletes on the West Coast, being afforded to these athletes across the country. When you get a situation where that's happening, when you see that equity is going to spread throughout the entire country, you're going to see the quality of softball continuing to grow and to get better. This sport is not limited geographically. I mean, it's not. If we provide the opportunities, and these kids dream. I mean, my kids dream. Every morning they wake up, they have the same dreams, and they pay the same price, and they work just as hard. And given the right set of circumstances, you can show up here.
Patrick, could you talk about OU's lineup and how the complexion of it changes now that Lauren Chamberlain is back and hitting the ball pretty well here lately?
Well, I had Lauren and Destiny, another California kid, on the USA Junior National Team in Bogota. And Lauren had committed before I got a shot to go out to California to watch her, but and we're taking batting practice in Bogota, and it's 110 degrees and everybody's dying, and the ball is like mush, an international ball, and she hit one about 260, and then she circled the bases for a triple, and I was like, this kid is going to be good. And obviously she means so much to them. At any time she can hit it out. Destiny was one of the best outfielders on that team. She's one of the best slappers. Not only can she soft slap, she can definitely hard slap, put it in a gap, put it over an outfielder's head. They have very good lefties up and down the lineup that hit the ball hard. Obviously, and Penley was on that team too. I mean, it was a loaded team. And she's had a heck of a good year. Over 400, I think 18 home runs, 17 doubles, leads the team in RBIs. I mean, it's a stacked lineup, and it's a typical Oklahoma lineup.
Coach Lawson, this is mainly for you, but you've got your pitcher wearing a mask. Can you talk about the trend that's starting to protect pitchers and the mask, and do you think it should start being heavily favored?
There you go.
Maybe I'll get an endorsement deal out of it. No. Actually, how it works with Nunley is when she was, I think, 10, I'm not sure about the age, but she actually was playing shortstop and she got hit in the face with a ball. So starting at the age of 10, then she started wearing a mask, and she's worn one ever since. She had never been hit in the face with a pitch until regionals. So when we were in regionals this year, a ball came back at her and it hit her face mask and went all the way out. So that was the first time since she was 10 that she's ever been hit. And it didn't even phase her. We didn't really even call timeout. We just walked, she, called the pitch, she threw the next pitch. And all she said, if you knew her, she's very steady, she's very low-key, and she just comes out, she's like, well, thank goodness I had that face mask on. That's the first time that's ever happened, and it didn't phase her because she's comfortable with it. Now, the interesting part is when she's a very good first baseman as well. She does not wear one when she plays first base, so she just does it when she pitches. As far as the trend nationally, obviously we see them happen a lot when they're younger kids, and then they make the decision when they get older. I mean, I personally won't speculate as whether that should happen or if rules were in place. I wouldn't be surprised if players growing up started to feel more and more comfortable having them if they've had them their whole life, like Nunley. Very similar to face masks. I think in ASA ball, all the kids are required to wear the face mask on their helmet, and then when they get older, they make the decision to take it off or to use it. And you're going to see in the World Series, there's going to be some hitters, great hitters, that have face masks on. There are going to be other great hitters that don't. So I think right now we're at a place of personal preference, but I would not be surprised if more and more kids starting to come through that have had them their whole life will continue to wear them.
This is for Coach Lotif. You obviously have a great talent in Christina Hamilton out there in the circle, but her personality is very low-key, very kind of quiet, unassuming. She hates.
Really?
She kind of well, at least to us, she kind of hates, talking to us in a certain sense. But yet, there's the glasses, there's the persona that she has out there on the circle. How do you reconcile, what sometimes we see off the field versus, that persona that she has on the field and how she carries herself in the circle?
Well, she's not a low-key kid. I mean, that's not her personality at all. She's fiery, she's gritty, she's gutty, she's fun-loving, she's goofy, she's crazy. I mean, but once all of these pitchers actually get in the circle and they get into competition, then it's different. I mean, that different part of your personality has to come out. I mean, you have to focus and you have to bear down, and I mean, you realize you're facing the best hitters in the world on the biggest stage, and she's been able to do that. But off the field, her personality she is funny and goofy and crazy and all of that good stuff. To the glasses, I speak to that real briefly. I love our sport because we don't have to be stoic, and we don't have to follow the traditional rules of baseball. I mean, you can have your own personalities. We can have our celebrations at home plate after home runs. You can show emotion. You can do a dog pile. You can have our sport. We can, because it's females, we allow in our sport. You can cheer in the dugout. You can have all that fun, and I think that's why our fan base loves our sport, because we don't try to suppress all that. We let these kids have some fun, but you don't take from that they're not warriors and they're not intense and they're not getting after it. I mean, these kids, they're every bit the warrior and they're every bit the competitors and they're every bit getting after it. And just allow them to be expressive and be themselves and have some fun with it as it's going.
With how much Kelsey has pitched recently, back here.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Was the plan to ride her like you did through the regionals and super regionals, and will that keep up going forward, where she is just who you have out there and that's it?
I don't know that it was the plan. Anyone who knows me on some level I always have a plan, but I think that I'm always ready for plan B. We actually have a very good pitching staff. We've used all 4 of our pitchers all year, and all of our pitchers have gotten key wins against very good teams. 2 of them are freshmen in Shannon Smith and Megan Prince. They've both had great wins. Lauren Cumbus has been a mainstay for us for 4 years. She also has gotten some big wins for us and is the only other pitcher currently on our staff, though, that has postseason experience. And so I knew it was going to be important for the team all year that we needed a pitching staff to get through it, because over the past few seasons, what I've seen is in our sport, I've seen a number of our great pitchers get injured. And I think a lot of that was because of all the wear and tear that's been on their body, not only in college, but also all the wear and tear that's put on them on travel ball, and it catches up. So it was important to me that I continued to protect her throughout this entire year, and that's why you'll see that in the beginning and the middle of the season, the duties were more shared. But as we rolled into postseason, Kelsey not only did a great job, but she really came into her own. Not only did she win games, but when she went into the SEC tournament, I felt like she really matured as a pitcher overnight. She was incredible. She puts the ball exactly where she wants to put the ball. She doesn't shy away from much. She's very even-keeled. And as those games continued to go, and as she continued to just masterfully put the ball in command where she wanted to, we continued to pitch her and pitch her. And as long as she pitches well, she will pitch. You know, we did not pitch her in the SEC tournament game because she had not pitched 3 games in a weekend up to that point all season, and that would have been her 4th game. And so we didn't really know the wear and tear it would take on her body, and our ultimate goal was, is the World Series. This is the biggest stage in college softball right now. And so we didn't pitch her, but she's pitched every other game, and she continues, she keeps her velocity up, she's strong. She does what she needs to do. So as long as those things are happening, I imagine she'll get the ball. With that said, though, I don't think that any team can win the World Series with one pitcher anymore. I think that those days are probably over. I think that if we're going to go deep in the tournament, we are definitely going to have to go into our pitching staff. And I think they've been in big games, so hopefully it'll be okay. But you definitely have to give Kelsey the ball as long as she can take it.
Patty, can you just expound on what it means to you and your program to have a chance to be back here and defend your national championship?
Well, I think especially how we started the season, to see where we are now is pretty amazing, and we're very proud of our accomplishments. I don't think that this team is going into this World Series saying we have to defend our title. It's just get out and do your thing and play well. We don't even talk about it. It's not worth talking about. It's not worth trying to put pressure. It's tough. You got to take one pitch at a time, one game at a time. So we aren't really focusing in on that, although it is an honor to be back to get the opportunity, but it's certainly not a focus of where we're at. It's just preparing for each team and doing what we do best, and that's just kind of playing in the present moment and not looking ahead.
Patty, to kind of follow up on that, do you feel like some of the early season struggles your team had came from putting some pressure on themselves with being the national title?
Absolutely. As we got started, we still were trying to figure out who we are. I mean, we lost some of the best college softball players to play the game, and now we're trying to figure out how to get back to that kind of prominence. And the pressure was definitely put on unnecessarily, probably by all of us. And as we got along through the middle of March, especially end of March, and as we begin Big 12 play, this team started to really gel together, started to relax, and started to step forward. When some prominent players were out, we had to find ways to continue to make things happen. When Lauren was out for 20-plus games, this team decided, let's keep going and find a way to get her back. So give her time to get healed and hopefully have her back in the lineup. So they've just pieced some things together. I've seen them grow up quite a bit, mature as softball athletes, but also into young women. So it's really been a journey that is something I'll never forget, and this is just kind of the icing on top of all of it.
You know, for all the coaches, we're not that far removed from an era where every World Series game seemed to be 1-0 and 2-1. I'm looking at the regionals and the super regionals. Has softball outgrown that, and is it because pitching is down and hitting is up? What's your theory on the offensive change in this game over the last several years?
I'll speak to that first. I think you will see some games that are very close, 1-0, 2-1, that sort of deal. I don't think it's going to be the norm anymore. I don't believe it's because pitching's down. I think there are some outstanding pitchers out there. I think the times are different. I think that, number one, I think that there's a lot more scouting out there. The video, with all the TV and with all the live streaming and all the video, that also changes the dynamic of scouting and understanding the other pitchers. And so there's a lot more game film, so that helps the hitters. I think the other thing that's happened in this great sport is, along with all the resources, you're also seeing a huge increase in coaches' salaries. So I think that there are a number of very, very talented coaches who have come over into softball. Some people have stayed in our sport. Some people have come over from baseball into softball. And you're seeing, I believe, the coaching in the college is at an all-time high. And I think they're doing such an exceptional job of preparing their girls to compete on the national level. And specifically, you're seeing a lot of that happen offensively. And finally, I think that over the last 20 years, all of the major changes in the rule book have been to promote hitting in our sport because there was such a lack of offensive production. So in my opinion, those three things are a really big deal and have contributed to why you're seeing so much offense. But also, with that great design, you're seeing the fan base go up. You're seeing the fan base go up tremendously. The number of individuals who are going to be here this weekend watching the World Series and also watching it on TV, I think that offense has actually contributed to all the spectators that we're getting in this sport.
Coach Lotief talked a lot about the personality that's so unique to softball. As coaches, how do you balance that when you start talking about crazy bows and people's hair, things like that? Balance that personality with focusing on the game.
There.
You get to go first.
What, you want me to help with that?
Oh, yes.
I can't.
I mean, kind of what I said before. If you're in the dugout with these kids and you know what's going on, they're intense and fierce competitors. To me, the fact that these kids can play under the kind of pressure that they play under and still smile and still cheer and still relax and still have fun, to me is a talent. I think that's something that people, our fans, enjoy. That they enjoy the fact that our kids can be expressive and that they can enjoy the game and that they can be so into it. And they can handle, you don't have to, when they boot a ball or they strike out in a big moment or they give up a home run, well, they feel it. They understand the disappointment. But they don't wear that. A lot of these kids don't wear that for the next 24 hours. They get to the next pitch. I think our kids are mentally tougher because they're more expressive. I think our game allows these kids to play each pitch and to enjoy it. And last night at the function, they all talked about family and sisterhood and team and how much they love being a part of this. And that's what's great about our sport. I'm glad that our sport allows these kids to be individuals and, to express their individual personalities within the context of team and family.
We have something called Speakers on Success, and about once a month we invite a business person into our team room and just talk to the team about how they got to where they are in the business world. And almost to a person, everyone starts by saying, the reason why I love to watch softball is because when you play, you have so much fun. And like Michael has said, you can combine relentless competitors, servant leaders, and kids that have fun. It can be done, and I think all four of us have shown that. They're, like Patty said at the very, very beginning, when we get out there, we're all gonna compete, but we're all gonna have fun too.
You said something about bows earlier. I think every program has their own personality, and what works for one may not work for another, but you definitely have seen quite a bit more personality in our game. And from the biggest bows you've ever seen to me, it doesn't matter. As long as you can get out and play the game the way it's needing to be played and it doesn't distract you, then go for it. We're a little, I don't think it's because of me, but just our style, our personality is not quite as big, I guess. I've seen props in dugouts, and I've seen wigs and costumes and things that are going a little overboard, but that's the style of that team, and I can't, that's works for them. Maybe it doesn't work for us, but it doesn't take away from our passion for the game or so forth. So I think everyone here has a different, we played out at ULL. Those guys are drummers. They need to go into bands and play drums because they can beat the drum and have good rhythm. But to me, I loved it because it made me feel like we were at a big event. I mean, it was really, it brought an atmosphere. So sometimes it brings atmosphere. Sometimes it, it's just, like I said, the personality of the program. Everybody's different. What works for one may not work for another, but it's definitely where the sport seems to be going right now.
This is, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, and on the bows, I'm not really a bow girl, you can tell. But nobody can really tell me, you think about guys and their nasty beards, in baseball and they're going into the postseason, they're spending as much time in that mirror checking out their beard and making sure it's long and as the girls do with their bows. So, nobody can really tell me there's a difference between a big nasty beard and a bow. I think they're all accessories and it's really just what they're comfortable with. So, I don't think much about it either.
This is for Coach Loteef. Obviously, between you and Kentucky, some similarities the last couple seasons. Getting almost here, this year you're here. What similarities do you see aside from the programs, but just on the field with these two teams?
Well, Rachel and I go way back.
Yeah, we do.
We were in the belt together for all those good years, and we know each other well. There is so much mutual respect. I watched her take the program at Western and absolutely change the culture there through and watch it become an extension of her personality. And then I watched her do it again on a bigger stage at Kentucky. To be able to go into a program in that tough of a conference and start from the grassroots and just change the entire culture. And while you're competing with their other sport there, I think they play a little basketball there, and to be able to do it on that kind of timeline has been phenomenal. And it's just me talking. It's a shame that she has to get here, or that we have to get here to validate what she's done all those other years. There's a lot of teams that are not here and that may never get here. You have teams that come here all the time, but you have teams that navigate themselves through a regional or through a super regional, and they may come up a little short. We ought to celebrate. Our sport should celebrate them too. The fact that she's done it the last 3 years, our program has done it the last 3 years, and you come up short and you don't get here. I had somebody ask me last week, after coming up short all those 3 times and now finally get there, does that validate it? It doesn't. I mean, it's the parity throughout the sport, how hard it is to get here. It's become harder and harder and tougher every year. What she's done the last 3 years should have given everybody an inkling that the culture of Kentucky has changed. To finish in the finals and do it on the road, to finish in the finals of super regionals every year, I would take that as a successful year every year. Of course, when you get here, the national focus, the focus of the whole sport comes here. And of course, there's no other feeling like this. There isn't. Because you get to be on the stage and you get to compete for the national championship. But again, I'll say this, there's a lot of programs that have never been here, and there's a lot of programs that have done it the right way consistently over a lot of years. And there's a lot of gyms in this sport, and there's a lot of coaches in this sport that labor and sacrifice and build and work, and they just do it without the notoriety. We got a lot of winners in this sport. We got a lot of people who are doing a lot of good things in this sport. And the fact that you get to take that final hurdle and get over it is a good thing. But you don't have to do that to be validated in my judgment.
Patrick, along the same lines of what I asked Patty, did you see similar struggles in your team last year from what she called unnecessary pressure? And when you didn't get back here to defend your title, was that disappointment harder than other years not making it here?
I mean, exactly what she said we went through last year. I mean, word for word. Jackie wasn't healthy. I mean, this year it was Lauren for them. And she's had several injuries, but Jackie was probably about 65 to 70% of the year. And, you know, there was a lot of expectations, a lot of new kids. It was the perfect storm. I mean, we had a couple injuries, we had a lot of new kids, and then we had just won the national championship. And it was too much for a lot of them to handle, and probably including me. And we got to super regionals, and we lost a 1-run game to Tennessee, and then lost a 2-run game. And, you know, it was disappointing, but I think with what we had, we overachieved. Because Jackie was, you know, literally at about 70%. And we still were within a couple runs of coming back. But she could have said the same thing for me that we went through last year.
Coach Gasso, you talked about the growth that your kids had shown you this year earlier, and I was wondering specifically what Shelby Penley has shown you in that regard, plugging so many different holes with Lauren being out, having to pitch, and then even last week laying down a pretty big bunt for you, which goes sort of against her reputation at the plate. And in seeing the growth from Shelby, how valuable has that been for your team?
Oh, tremendous. And to me, what has helped her get there is experience. And a year ago, she was a different player. On a national stage, I think you'll see some athletes just really, really put unnecessary pressure on themselves because it is such a big stage. And if you are dreaming about this your entire life and now you're in it, you're just like bonkers, crazy. Like, I want to be so good, and the harder you try to be great, the tougher it is to make happen. So it takes a special athlete to know how to really kind of settle in and allow pressure to go away and just get locked into what you're doing. It's tough, especially as the stakes get higher in this kind of setting. Shelby has been one of the best athletes I've ever experienced. Her work ethic is phenomenal. And the fact that she came to me and said, I pitch a little bit. I did in high school, which was 2 years ago. And actually, her debut was against ULL when we were getting our clocks cleaned. And I threw her in to kind of hope that we don't get run ruled, and she saved us. And from that moment on, she became a pitcher and a reliable pitcher on our staff. And this is before I put her out there at Lafayette. She was in the bullpen maybe twice. And that's just a competitor, an athlete that will do anything she can to win. I'm anxious for her this weekend or this week because it's her second time around. And I think she really didn't show herself very well and allowed the expectations and the whole setting to get a little bit of the best of her. But I think now she can settle in and get after it. But to me, she's one of the best I've seen that can do about anything.
Just one more question.
This is for Coach Lotief. You have youth all over the roster, but I look at a freshman in Haley Hayden and having to come in and you change the swing, you do a position change for her. Just among the youth on this roster, just what is her sort of settling in and giving you in that number 2 hole meant for this team and for this batting order and for the offense, and given all the transitions that she's had to go through before even getting onto the field this spring?
You know, I agree with exactly what Coach Gasso just said. Hayden was a Gatorade pitcher of the year in our state. It's not these kids they're competitors. I mean, they're fierce, and this is what they want to do. They dream to do this, and for that kid, she's grown up here. She's made the trip here. Softball has been such a huge part of her life, and to have the opportunity to do it on that level, and now get an opportunity to do it here is really phenomenal. I don't think the ball of the game understands if you're a freshman or a senior, or it's your toughness, it's your mindset, it's your willingness to work and pay the price. We've had. I mean, last night again, they showcased some of the outstanding freshmen in the country. Now these kids are coming into our programs, and they're more prepared than they've ever been in their lives. Not only softball-wise, but mentally and in the weight room and their knowledge of the game. It's a great time to be involved with college softball. I think our sport is in a good place, and I think it's going to explode again.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.